खाना बनाना मुझे जब आया, ख्याल किसानों का मुझको आया। किस खेत की सब्जी मैं खाता, ना कोई पूछे ना ही बताता, कैसा मेरा किसान से नाता। हर फसल की होगी कहानी, खेत किसान सावन की कहानी। खरीद फरोख्त में है छिप जाता, एक भारत की जीवन गाथा, कैसा मेरा किसान से नाता। चाहे बंगले महल हो जाएं, चाहे झोपड़ी मकान हो जाएं, बिन रसोई घर ना हो पाता, रस जिंदगी में वो ही लाता। जरूरी है मेरा किसान का नाता, कमजोर है रिश्ता मैंने माना, साथ बढ़ाना मैंने ठाना। एक दूजे के बिना अधूरे, साथ होकर के होंगे पूरे। गैर होना भी है गरीबी, और हो जाएं दोस्त करीबी। धन दौलत सब कुछ नहीं भाई, साथ ही सबसे बड़ी कमाई, साथ ही सबसे बड़ी कमाई।
Hello and welcome. Not poverty, not monsoon delays, not our apathy. Nothing has proved to be as deadly for our marginal farmers as the COVID-19 pandemic. It's not only undone their livelihoods, it's also put their lives on the line. Today on this very special program, we are extremely privileged to introduce and talk about the incredible work of Rangde, which extends interest-free loans to marginal farmers to enable them to tide over this extraordinary crisis. Rangde and its potential are huge. This is a licensed peer-to-peer lending platform that promotes sustainable agriculture, reaches out to farmers. These are moves that enable farmers to keep their respect and their dignity intact in the face of extraordinary adversity. Joining us, Pranoy Roy and my colleague Nidhi Kulpati.
हमारे देश में 80% किसान छोटे मंझोले हैं, यानी 5 एकड़ से कम जमीन से ही वो अपना जीवन गुजारते हैं। इसी टुकड़े को वो अपनी मेहनत के पसीने से सींचते हैं। लेकिन कोरोना और लॉकडाउन ने उनके हाथ बांध दिए हैं। क्या बोएं, क्या बेचें, क्या खाएं? इनकी मदद के लिए पहली बार देश में अनोखा प्रयास हो रहा है। रंगदे NDTV के साथ मिलकर मुश्किल में फंसे इन किसानों को लोन मुहैया करा रहा है। आज हम आपके दान नहीं बल्कि योगदान की गुजारिश कर रहे हैं। इस लोन से किसान अपनी ज़रूरत का सामान खरीद सकेंगे, बीज, किसानी उपकरण या गोदाम, जो भी वो चाहें। अहम यह है कि इस मुहिम में किसान को ये लोन ब्याज मुक्त होगा। इससे किसान की गरिमा और इज्जत बनी रहेगी। ये फंड सीधे उनके खाते में जाएगा। आपके योगदान का ईमेल भी आपको आएगा और कैसे आपका दिया पैसा उपयोग किया जा रहा है बताएगा।
As you're just saying, Nidhi and Vishnu, this is a telethon that focuses on a very, very important section of our society, and a section that, in the midst of all the sadness and the tragedy that we've been witnessing, this is a section that's almost being forgotten. That's our small and marginal farmers. Hundreds of millions of farmers that in normal times puts food on each one of our plates. This is a very critical time for these farmers. They are bringing their harvest to the market, but nobody has the money to buy their product. So their crops or vegetables or fruit that would normally sell for, say, 800 to 1,000 rupees a quintal, they're getting only 100 rupees instead of 1,000 rupees or 800 rupees. How will they survive? We must not forget them. How will they repay? They would have taken short-term loans that they borrowed from a money lender to be repaid immediately after harvest, normal practice. How will they feed their family when they're getting 1 out of every 10 rupees they would normally get? And then they have to buy inputs for the next crop. So our farmers, the small farmers, are in the midst of a dire emergency, and it's not focused on enough. And let's remember them tonight, and let's focus on how we can help them. So as Vishnu Nidhi mentioned, today we are focusing on a wonderful organization called Rangde. They're a social investment organization, and they help bridge the gap between each one of us and the poorest farmers. Now, every rupee you send to them today will go as an interest-free loan to small farmers, interest-free. The important factor is you will know which farmer you are supporting. It's from when Vishnu mentioned peer-to-peer, or you hear the term peer-to-peer, it means it's from you to one farmer or 10 farmers or 100 farmers, and you know each one. So the important fact is you will know which farmer you're supporting. All the details about the particular farmers you're supporting will be known to you and transparently given on their website. It's a loan from you to save the lives of one farmer or 10 farmers or 100 farmers, depending on how much you send in today. It's an amazing concept. And it's so important at this very difficult time. Remember, just a simple rule of thumb, for every 10,000 rupees you send in, one entire family of a small farmer will be saved. 10,000 and an entire family saved from terrible, terrible hardship ahead. So this is the time to remember the key part of our society that are going through very, very tough time.
Well, we are joined at this stage by Dr. Ramanani, Hulu, the founder and executive director at the Center for Sustainable Agriculture. Thank you so much for being with us. I think for the benefit of our viewers, we really need to understand what the crisis is now. Is it an unsold harvest and an uncertain sowing season ahead? Is that what we are looking for? And how does this affect millions of people, farmers and those in the agricultural sector in India?
Thanks, Pranay, for making me part of the show, and I congratulate Rangde for initiating a great initiative, because the farmers are in deep crisis, and we are seeing daily number of migrant labor walking on the roads. They are all part of the rural economy which failed. So let's actually take a step back and look at why the serious crisis in rural India, and then look at how the COVID-19 lockdown has aggravated the whole problem. In India, near about 54.6% people depend on farming, and in that 87% are small and marginal, who farm in less than 2 hectares of land. So more because they are small and marginal, and the land holdings are small, the income doesn't come just from cultivation alone. So the income comes from various sources. So near about 47% income only comes from cultivation, and about around 32% comes from wages and salaries, and around 13% comes from livestock. When these 3 or 4 combinations of income sources gets affected, the income gets seriously affected. Today, if you look at the average income of farmers in India is around 8,931 rupees per month. And our study showed that the lockdown has affected to an extent of about 60%. And in this 60% also, if we take the breakup, the cultivation, the crops, farmers are unable to sell. Some crops they were unable to sell because it was lockdown, and there was transportation being affected, labor were not available, so farmers couldn't take the harvest, and then even if they have taken the harvest, they couldn't sell it. And particularly the fresh fruits and vegetables market has affected significantly. Similarly, the livestock, the milk and dairy sector has affected significantly.
Right.
And one more important issue about this whole crisis is many of these farmers also are landless.
Yes.
Many of the farmers are landless, so they also take land on lease. So when they take land on lease, they have to pay very high interest rates as well. So today, if you take across the country, near about 50% of the people only get access to institutional credit. Rest of the people actually take from private sources, and the interest rates may vary up to 30-40%. And that's what makes the people more vulnerable.
Yes, Dr. Ramu, if I could ask you a question, that India is one of the few countries where peer-to-peer lending doesn't happen. We have the Mahajan thing, which was there. So now this Rang De effort, how can this be leveraged now?
In fact, the peer-to-peer lending, which is actually borrowing from neighbors and all, was a habit in the country, but it was not in an organized way. So when it is not in an organized way, getting access becomes very difficult. So an organized platform like Rang De helps certainly number of small and marginal farmers to get access to these loans, and these small loans can help them to start new livelihoods. So it's not just about buying seeds; it's also about buying chicks to start a small poultry. It could be a small loan to start a processing unit.
Okay, so
a number of livelihoods are possible.
I'm going to come back to you in a moment, because we're also joined by Dr. Nachiket Moore. He's a visiting scientist at the Banyan Academy of Leadership and Mental Health. Dr. Moore, good to have you on board. A little bit more about the concept of peer-to-peer lending, because besides anything else, in the context of Rang De, it adds to incredible transparency, where the loan that a person is giving goes to a designated person. It's not just to a fund. You actually know where your funds are going, your cash, your money is going, and how it's helping someone. So how does that transparency result in accountability?
So clearly, the ability to track what's happening with your money, who's the actual user, is an important component of the entire peer-to-peer transaction. But I would say more than that, or as important, is the notion that peer-to-peer lending enables, which, for example, a regular microfinance or regular bank loan does not enable. In a regular lending context, you're looking for the lowest risk borrower. You're looking for somebody that the interest rate charged is just a little bit more than the risk implied. In this concept, you're looking for somebody that is the most needy, that you've brought the right partnerships together so that the person is most likely to succeed. You're really more bridging a gap between what I would say is regular lending, which is low risk, relatively high interest rate, to, in some ways, micro venture capital or venture debt, in which you're allowing farmers or individuals that are in distress to do perhaps something new, but with mentorship, with guidance.
Okay.
Really, one of the people who set this whole concept going many, many years ago, I'm full of admiration for your foresight in this. Many congratulations. Just explain to us the technology which basically bridges the urban and rural India and brings them together. And what's the role of this peer-to-peer, where you talk about me as a lender going direct to a particular farmer or set of farmers? How does that bring people together in your Rang De model?
So this amazing team that Ram and Smita put together, at its core is technology. At its core, and they've had some experience of this for over a decade. I was fortunate to be involved with an effort that supported them right when they started. And their commitment, their story, I hope there will be time later on in your program to talk about how these two young people jumped both feet first into solving a problem that they really saw in the market. And then they use technology to make sure that there is complete transparency. Unlike in a regular bank or a regular non-bank finance company or insurance company, you put your money in, you only see the insurer, you see the bank. You don't really see what they do at the other end, because technology makes it hard to do that. It's opaque. This is what I would call, turbocharged transparency, in which you're seeing the individual, and therefore you can help the individual in other ways. You can, of course, give money. You can keep track of them. But in addition, if you have some interesting ideas, some talent to offer, some ideas that you want to work with, that's visible to you, because this is not a fiction. There's a real person at the other end of the table.
निधि,
नचिकेत जी, मैं आपसे ये जानना चाह रही थी कि जो ये आपने हमें समझाया पीयर टू पीयर किस तरह से हमारे देश में कुछ रोक है, पाबंदियां हैं, तो ऐसे में ये जो सिस्टम है क्रेडिट का बिना लोन के किसानों को पहुंचेगा, कैसे फ़ायदा या ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा पहुंचा जा सकता है?
मैडम जी, आपकी आवाज़ ठीक से नहीं आई, आप एक बार फिर से दोहरा पाएंगे आपका अपना सवाल?
हाँ जी, मैं यही कह रही थी कि हमारे देश में पीयर टू पीयर में रेगुलेशंस हैं, रोक है, पाबंदी है, तो ऐसे में जो ये सिस्टम है, हाउ डू यू थिंक सो दिस कैन बी लेवरेज्ड इन टाइम्स लाइक दिस?
The reality is that a lot of traditional financial institutions, banks, microfinance institutions are right now wary of wading into this high-risk waters, because the future is uncertain. Which livelihoods will survive? Which individuals will pursue what livelihoods and pathways is not entirely clear. Now is the time for individuals to step up and to say, while it is true that savings account holders cannot really be expected to get into such situations, we can, as individuals, middle class, upper middle class, lower middle class, if we have a little bit to give. And you can do very small amounts. You don't have to do large numbers. I'm willing to go out and help a fellow human being, a fellow family, because I see them as, as Sir said earlier, my neighbors. They're extended neighbors. But in some ways, it allows us an opportunity as investors. I was amongst their earliest investors. And I got great satisfaction from their regular reporting back to me to say, this is what happened to this person, that's what happened to that person. I would constantly brainstorm with them as to what more can they do, how can I be more helpful to them. Now, this is the kind of engagement that we need today to help millions of people out there. I'm not saying this will solve the entire problem, but this will certainly add to the menu of choices that we have available as a country to deal with this, what Mr. Roy said earlier, this enormous hardship that our fellow citizens are facing.
Right. Actually, that's a very important point. Thanks for bringing that up, because, it humanizes. It's not just a random loan like to a bank that goes into some deep pot and then goes out to some organization. You actually have made it, this peer-to-peer phrase is a bit non-television, if I may say. You're saying from one person to another, and both know, the person you're giving it to, you know the background, you know when he's giving it back, etc. It's just wonderful. And you were the first social investor on the Rangde platform way back in 2008, right? I just want to know, how did your association with Rangde begin? What made you believe in the model? And what would you tell viewers who want to donate, who really want to help farmers, small farmers? How do you reassure them that yes, their money will be tracked very carefully and it'll all be transparent?
I mean, I had the good fortune of knowing this young couple. I got a message one day in my office that there was a young couple waiting to see me. I don't even believe we had an appointment, but I was curious to see who these people were. I was quite amazed. An outstandingly talented couple had invested their life savings, had built something that they felt deeply, committed to. And as I said earlier, both feet first. They jumped into it. There really no backup savings, no nothing. And they said, well, can you help us? We have an idea that we want to take forward. Can you become a partner with us? And so I had that good fortune. And I have watched them grow over the last decade. Without even a station from their principles. Sometimes, people argue too much religion. Why are you so focused so narrowly on this issue? Your, other NBFCs have gone ahead and become 10,000 crore, 20,000 crore organizations. Why are you focused on this? They believe in it. They believe this is the way they would like to add value to their fellow human beings, reach out and touch people, offer all of us the opportunity of actually connecting with an individual and a family in a way that, as you said so nicely, an opaque structure just cannot do.
All right. Well, we'll be joined in just a few moments by Vijay Mahajan, the founder of Basics, also the Chief Executive Officer of the Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. But before we come across to Mr. Mahajan, I'd just like to urge people across the country, be a part of this mission, be a part of Rang De India, break the cycle of debt for farmers through interest-free loans. You can contribute even a very small amount, and this goes to small and marginal farmers in India. All you need to do to invest is log on to ndtv.com/Rangde. You can invest as little as 100 rupees, but just see the difference that it makes in the lives of farmers and their families, and you will know where your money is gone and who it's helping. Mr. Mahajan, great to have you on the program. You've been someone who's been very close to ground realities. What is the rural credit situation at this stage, particularly during this time of COVID? Mr. Mahajan, can you hear me?
Sorry, could you repeat your question?
Now, yeah, sure. You've been someone who's been following ground realities in the agrarian sector very closely. What is the rural credit scenario right now?
Well, as was explained by Ramanani, the rural credit scenario has always been one of deficiency. In spite of over 120 years of state intervention in rural credit, even today, less than 50% of our farmers actually get access to institutional credit. And even when they get it, it's not enough for them. So even the ones who borrow from banks also may have to borrow from informal sources, including traders and landlords and so on. So there is always, even in normal times, a shortage of credit to farmers. And of course, this year it is exceptionally so.
Okay. Nidhi?
With some instances of how bad it is, we've heard that, farmers are not getting money for their crops because everybody is in bad shape. So this, as you said, small farmers are always looking out for credit. They go to money lenders, they pay 40%, 50% interest. This time it's especially bad. Can you just explain and how you're going to intervene? You're going to give loans 0 interest now. That's amazing. Just explain to us in some detail.
So, Pranay, basically, this is an exceptional year when, the banking system, even before the COVID crisis, was highly stressed. And though after the COVID crisis, there's been some attempt to enhance their liquidity and even give them guarantees, but the guarantees are for the MSME sector lending. So the bank's ability to lend to farmers or willingness to lend to farmers has not gone up dramatically. And right now they have lots of demands on their funds. And as Nachiket said, banks naturally will lend to the least risky of the millions of borrowers who line up in front of them. And, so small and marginal farmers are well below in that list. So this is the time to actually use the capital that is lying with individuals, people like you and me in fixed deposits, maybe in debt mutual funds, to take out a part of that and to help on a human-to-human basis. We all have probably given loans to our house help or to our drivers or to the watchmen in the society where we live in. That's a face-to-face lending. Peer-to-peer lending is basically the same, but the matchmaking is happening at a distance in a reliable manner by the institution called Rang De, and it is regulated by the RBI's peer-to-peer lending norms. So if there's a needy farmer, and there are right now millions of them, who could, because he could not sell his kharif crop properly, does not have enough cash to buy, he couldn't sell his rabi crop properly, so he does not have cash to buy seeds or fertilizer for the kharif crop, he would benefit greatly from a very small loan. 25,000 rupees is more than enough for a small farmer having less than 2 acres of land. It would take care of not just seeds and initial plowing costs, but also some fertilizer, urea, and so on. and
think
some
what
of the consumption costs.
Yeah, I think that was a really well put, actually. Yep. You said this is face-to-face lending, and you will almost see the face of the farmer because all the details will be on the website. That's a nice way to put it.
That's right. And in today's technology, you could, if you wanted and you spoke the language, you could actually do a Zoom call with that farmer, or at least a WhatsApp call.
Right. Wow. Fantastic. Wonderful.
जी मिस्टर महाजन, जिस तरह से आप कह रहे हैं कि जूम कॉल भी कर सकते हैं उस किसान से, लेकिन जो छोटे मझोले किसान हैं 80% से ज़्यादा, इस समय उनकी सबकी हिम्मत भी नहीं होगी कि वो एक बैंक का रुख करें। तो जो ये क्रेडिट मिलेगा उन्हें, ये जो लोन मिलेगा उन्हें, ब्याज मुक्त जो होगा, ये किस तरह वो प्रयोग कर सकते हैं?
निधि जी, देखिए अभी खरीफ का समय है, 15 जून तक अधिकतर जगह में कम से कम हल चलाई तो हो ही जाती है और कई जगह तो बुवाई भी हो जाती है। 15 जुलाई तक करीब करीब पूरे देश में बुवाई हो जाती है। तो इसलिए सबसे बड़ी ज़रूरत इस समय है बीज की, और बीज के साथ जो थोड़ा फर्टिलाइज़र खरीदना पड़ता है। और कई जगह जहाँ पे ज़मीन बहुत कड़ी हो गई है या बैलों से हल नहीं चलते हैं, वहाँ पे ट्रैक्टर से हल चलते हैं। छोटे किसानों के यहाँ भी किराए पे ट्रैक्टर लेके काम किया जाता है। तो ट्रैक्टर को रेंट करने के लिए 1 दिन के लिए या 2 दिन के लिए जो पैसा देना पड़ेगा वो भी कैश में देना पड़ता है। तो इन सब चीज़ों के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है, और बहुत छोटी रकम, मतलब 2-3 हज़ार रुपए में एक किसान जो है अपना खेत जो है जुताई करवा सकता है, उसको बुवाई के लिए तैयार करा सकता है, और 2-3 हज़ार रुपए में उसको जिस तरह का बीज चाहिए वो मिल सकता है। उससे उसके बाद मानसून आ जाएगा, उसकी खेती शुरू हो जाएगी। बाकी जो पैसा है उसे अपने गुजर बसर के लिए चाहिए, क्योंकि उसे अक्टूबर तक, दशहरे दिवाली तक उसको पैसा मिलेगा नहीं।
जी।
Well, there's some fantastic news coming in right now. An anonymous investor from Bangalore has just invested 10 lakh rupees. Thank you so much for doing that. It really is, these are funds that will make the difference, a huge difference in the lives of so many families. Well, joining us now, Vinita Bali, the former Chief Executive Officer and Managing Director of Britannia Industries Limited. Ms. Bali, thanks so much for being a part of this. What is the role of social investing? How do you see it helping people, especially those who've lost their livelihoods, to rebuild their livelihoods?
You know, Vishnu, I think the biggest the biggest sort of attractiveness I see of the social investing model is that it enables you, whoever you are, as the contributor, to actually put a face to what you want to change. And it's not impersonal. It's very personal. You know, we've been calling it peer-to-peer, but it really is person to person. So, you know, as Dr. Mahajan said, I could even do a Zoom call. I think what it also does is it brings a lot more people into, I would like to call it the habit of contributing and giving. And even if many people give a little, it'll add up to a lot. And that is what we need. I think what it also does is it involves civil society in a very easy way, actually in a very comfortable way, because, you know, all I need to do is to write a check or do an RTGS transfer to Rangde, if that's what I want to do. And if I want to engage myself more, I can engage myself with the people who are going to be the beneficiaries of this loan. So I think it brings civil society and the role that we as individuals can play in, in really supporting people who provide food for us. I mean, what could be a more noble profession than that? And, you know, these are the people who right now are going hungry. These are the people who, you know, make us satiated with great food, but don't have enough food for their families. So I think it's a brilliant way of connecting civil society, of getting more and more people involved in the whole act of, contributing, not just through their money, but also engaging with the people that they are benefiting.
Yeah, Vinita Bali, thanks so much for saying that so eloquently, actually. I'm an agricultural economist with my PhD in agriculture, and I saw what small farmers in my fieldwork were going through even then. through always under the grip of money lenders who are hanging around trying to get them into a debt trap and eventually trying to take over their land. That's like an every annual phenomenon, and now it's absolutely crucial because they're not getting money for their crop, which they worked so hard for the last few months. Their families are in dire shape, and this 10 lakhs that has just come in, that'll be 100 farmers and their families, and maybe joint families. Maybe you're talking about, 500,000, more than that, people. So, but do you find, Vinita Bali, in this face-to-face aspect that we're talking about, of person to person, I like the way you phrase that as well, that people like to come forward when they know and they trust that their money is going to be used for what it's said to be used. Trust is a very important part, and that's where I feel this and Rangde are really important aspects of this campaign.
Absolutely, Dr. Roy. I think you've said it, very well. I think when the act of giving is impersonal, it's just about, if I can afford to, I will write a check. The moment you engage with another individual, the reason why people are sharing photographs that have moved them at this time of, migrants walking with, their little belongings on their, with them, with their little children. I think when people are moved, when people actually see the reality that most of us shut out because, we are either too busy or our lives don't engage with these small and marginal farmers. When you can see it as an individual, when you can see the individual as a human being, when you say, thanks to these people, I am getting great food, then I think the whole relationship of contributing and giving changes. Then it's no longer, I think the whole sentiment is really about, we all have to be a part of this, because all of this actually impacts all of us.
विनीता जी, आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा। अगर हम आभार व्यक्त करना चाहते हैं अपने किसानों के लिए, जो हमारे अन्नदाता है, जिसके वजह से हमारे प्लेट्स में खाना आता है, तो जो ये इंटरेस्ट फ्री लोन होगा, ब्याज मुक्त लोन होगा किसानों के लिए, इसका महत्व जो रंग दिला रहा है इस इंटरवेंशन का, द इम्पोर्टेंस एंड द एम्फेसिस ऑन लोअरिंग द कॉस्ट ऑफ क्रेडिट, ये ज़रा बताइए।
आपने बिल्कुल सही कहा। अगर by definition, small and marginal farmers are those people जिनके पास पैसों की बहुत कमी है. That's why we call them marginal. So actually they're also marginalized from society. So it's a very important word. अगर मुझसे कोई आके कहे कि ये आप पैसा ले लीजिए, ये 10,000 रुपए हैं आपके लिए, आपको जो ज़रूरत है, आपको बीज खरीदना है वो खरीदिए, आपको ट्रैक्टर किराए पे लेना है आप वो लीजिए, लेकिन हम ये चाहते हैं कि आपकी जो खेती है 1 हेक्टेयर की, 2 हेक्टेयर की, उसमें जो भी आपको चाहिए आपके पास ये पैसा है और आप चिंता मत कीजिए। जब आपकी फसल होगी, जब आपकी बिक्री होगी, जब सब कुछ होगा तो आप ये जो लोन है वो वापस कर सकते हैं। आई थिंक जस्ट बीइंग एक्नॉलेज्ड, I think just being recognized for what you do, I think just being thanked for what you do. I have interacted with some of these people, Nidhi. Like us, they have great pride in what they do. Like us, they believe in dignity. Like us, they really want to work hard and earn. Nobody wants anything free from us. So जब ये interest free loan उनको मिलता है, can you imagine the relief and the satisfaction कि भाई मेरे लिए भी किसी ने कुछ सोचा है और मेरी सहूलियत के लिए जो किया है उसका मैं आभारी हूँ। And they actually work doubly hard. मैं रंगदे से पूछ रही थी, in the 10-11 years of that they've been lending, 96% of the loans have been returned, which is frankly much higher than the NPAs we are seeing in,
No,
banks.
absolutely, Ms. Bali. I mean, and that, it's absolutely right. Thanks so much for being a part of this and encouraging us to do this. Thanks so much indeed. We've got a fantastic guest with us, joining us, Vikas Khanna. He is a celebrity chef, somebody who's been on MasterChef in the past. Thanks very much for being with us. Great to have you, particularly in times like this, which have been difficult for farmers. There's been a great deal of distress, incredible losses. What do you think we can all do to support farmers and the agrarian sector at a time like this? I ask you this because you've been looking at this very closely.
This time, we are buying a lot of ration directly from farmers. You also have to remember this was the harvest season.
Yep.
And many of my ration which we are distributing, almost like 25 to 35% is coming directly from farmers, which is a direct relief because they get paid right on the time. And that is something which is very essential.
Okay. Now tell us a little bit about your efforts, the fact that you've been working on dry rations. You've been feeding lakhs of people, in fact. That's helped farmers directly or indirectly. Tell us a little bit about your efforts in this regard.
We have the major initiative which we have is dry rations to old age home, orphanages and leprosy centers. This one I started on April 1st. And then after that, we started doing cooked meals, which is we have two kitchens. One is in Noida, which serves NCR, and the second one is in Bombay, which serves the greater Bombay region, in which every morning we do cooked meals, which are packed, and then they are delivered by NRD, National Disaster Response Force, NDRF.
Now, one other question. You did the Eid feast, right? Across several cities, I'm told. How did you get this idea? It was a great idea. How did it all happen for you?
The Eid feast, the big one, was only in Haji Ali in Bombay, where we had almost 200,000 meals, not people. And it was like everything was laid out and people could bring bag and take as much as they want. Eid was important to me because I think it's great that right now we need to celebrate hope. And hope is everything we are sharing right now. And that's what we are trying in our little humble efforts.
Well, thank you so much. And it's fantastic that you've been contributing in such an active way. Thanks very much indeed.
और अब विष्णु हमारे साथ कविश सेठ हैं। ये एक कवि हैं, गायक हैं, गाने लिखते भी हैं और किसानों के साथ इन्होंने काम भी किया है। और कार्यक्रम की शुरुआत में जो आपने कुछ सुना था वो कविश ने ही लिखा था, गाया था। कविश, जो ये रंग दे की मुहिम है, क्या सोच, क्या विचार आपके समय, क्या हम अपने किसानों के प्रति आभार, अपना धन्यवाद अदा कर सकते हैं आज?
मुझे तो लगता है कि ये बहुत ज़रूरी है कि किसान हमारे सभ्यता के नींव होते हैं। हर रसोई, हर घर उनसे चलता है। इतना ज़्यादा हमें मतलब मुझे खुद अवेयरनेस नहीं थी इस चीज़ की। ये लॉकडाउन होने के बाद जब घर के काम खुद करने पड़े, जब खुद खाना बनाना पड़ा, मन लगाया उसमें, तो ख्याल आने लगा कि भैया ये सब्ज़ी कहाँ से आती है, किसी खेत से आती होगी, किस किसान से आती, कभी देखा भी नहीं। ये लोग कितने हमारे नज़र से दूर, कितने शहर से दूर कहाँ रहते हैं, कौन से ऐसे भारत में रहते हैं, उस भारत में रहते हैं जहाँ जो बाकी भारत और सारे शहरों का घर चलाता है। तो मतलब मुझे इस बात से मैं बहुत हैरान था कि हमारे बीच में इतनी दूरी है कि मैं कभी किसी को जानता ही नहीं, किसी किसान को, जबकि हर रोज खाता हूँ, हर रोज खाना बनाते हैं। तो जब इतनी दूरी हो तो आपको क्या अंदाजा पता चलेगा कि क्या हो रहा है वहाँ पे? आपको सिर्फ एक खबर मिलती है, स्टैटिस्टिक मिलता है, एक पर्सनल रिलेशनशिप नहीं बनता है। तो आई थिंक ये रंग दे जब आपको पर्सनली कनेक्ट करता है, इट रियली हेल्प्स बिल्ड अ पर्सनल कॉन्टैक्ट।
बिल्कुल कविश, आप सही कह रहे हैं कि हम शहरों में बैठे अब अपने किसानों से सीधे इस मुहिम से जुड़ सकते हैं। आप योगदान दे सकते हैं, छोटे से छोटा 100 रुपये तक का आप योगदान दे सकते हैं NDTV.com/rangde पर जाकर।
Well, Brajeshwar Roynam, the CEO of Sagri India, is somebody who's supporting the social investment initiative for farmers. It's with a great deal of pride that we can say that he's somebody who's decided to invest in this particular mission. Let's listen to what he said.
When I learned about Rangde's initiative to help farmers during the current COVID-19 circumstances, we were super excited to be part of the initiative. Sagri is supporting farmers through Rangde by giving interest-free loans. We have just invested rupees 10 lakh as a starting token. I like the family founders, Ram and Smita of Rangde, and wish them the best. Sagri is at sagri.co. Thank you.
All right. Well, 10 lakhs is the amount that has been invested over here. Thank you very much, sir, for helping this cause. Nidhi?
और अब हम अपने जो हमारे छोटे और सीमांत किसान हैं, एक फूल सिंह भी हैं, उनकी कहानी हम आपको बताते हैं किस तरह से रंगदे ने जब उनकी मदद की, किस तरह से उनका जीवन बदला और क्या क्या उन्होंने किया। आइए देखते हैं इस रिपोर्ट में।
This is Dori, a small village in Betul in Madhya Pradesh. Most of the farmers in this village own small plots of land ranging from 2 to 3 acres. One of these small marginal farmers is Pool Singh. To date, he's never earned enough to make a profit. And slowly his family was getting embroiled in a never-ending cycle of debt.
बहुत दिक्कतें जाती है, मेंटेनेंस पूरा होता नहीं परिवार का, खाने पीने में, कपड़े लत्ते, सभी बात में बहुत ज़्यादा परेशानी होती है।
Recently, however, Pool Singh has had a big change in his life and his work. And the reason is this NGO, AASA, or Action for Social Investment Organization, supported by Rangde India. From Madhya Pradesh to Bihar, from Jharkhand to Chhattisgarh, AASA is helping farmers. Under the Farmer House project, they've got together 27 farmers in Dori and have got a pond constructed in the village. Another issue for these small farmers is distressed sales, not getting the right price for their crops. This year, due to the lockdown, many of them have suffered even more. Here again, AASA has stepped in. The work of Action for Social Investment and Rangde India has brought happiness in the life of farmers like Pool Singh. It's also giving hope to the next generation of farmers.
और आइए अब सीधे चलते हैं श्रीनिवास जैन के पास और सुनते हैं कि उनका क्या कहना है इस मुहिम के बारे में।
जी बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया निधि और विष्णु। नाउ I think one of the reasons why this initiative or initiatives like these are so important, Nidhi and Vishnu, as you've been hearing from many of the panelists, is that because the fact is that this is filling a vacuum which is largely left because of the fact that the government, despite its claims, has simply not done enough to provide a cushion for farmers during this lockdown. And if you just give me a few minutes, let me quickly try and outline where we stand with the state of farming today during the lockdown and what the government claims to have done and why that's not enough. So one of the things that the government will tell you is that as part of the PM's package, they have carried out sweeping reforms of agricultural marketing, right? So as we know, they've dismantled the mandi system, so farmers can now sell directly to buyers. They've also removed farm products from under the Essential Commodities Act. Now, these are important steps, but these are medium to long-term steps. They don't immediately put cash in the hand of the farmers. The other thing the government will tell you is the fact that we've had a bumper wheat crop this year. And this is, again, true. This is not to say that our farmers, and this is remarkable actually, that in the middle of a lockdown, they've actually delivered a bumper wheat crop. It's almost 10.7 crore tons, up by about 2%, 2 to 3% from last year. But again, the fact is that most of the support price at which the government procures wheat, as we know, goes largely to farmers from Haryana and Punjab.
Right.
This is the wheat bowl of India. This is where the best procurement takes place. So they get, most of them get the minimum support price of 1,925 rupees. But wheat farmers in a lot of other states are not getting that. They are getting below support price. And so they are shortchanged when they will now start to sow for the monsoon crop, right? So that's as far as the wheat farmers are concerned. Now, there are a bunch of crops which are simply not covered under support price. We're talking about pulses, chana, gram, all these crops are being harvested right now. And again, there is no support price, so they are getting shortchanged again. So again, there is a shortage of cash in the farmer's pocket. And Vishnu and Nidhi, also, if you had a chance to look at the front page of the Times of India today, you'd have seen that it says that even vegetable producers have taken a big hit. So Times of India found that 15 vegetable items across the country, prices have collapsed because of the lockdown. So bhindi is down 40%, tomato is down 80%. In Karnataka, tomato is selling at just 4 rupees a kilo. Green chili is down 40%. So there's a huge crunch for farmers for cash in their pockets as they get ready for the next sowing season. The government has front-loaded PM Kisan payments, the 2,000 rupee tranche as part of the PM's 20 lakh crore package. But that's again something which is not new. That is a payment they were already receiving, and 2,000 rupees at this time is simply not enough. So I think the crucial thing here is the fact that there has to be a way of getting cash into the farmers' pockets. And while certainly the Rang De initiative and initiatives like this, which are making it easier for farmers to access credit at such a crucial time, is very, very valuable, let's not forget that it's also very important that the government continues to find ways of directly monetizing farmers. Either make up the loss of MSP that they've suffered, top up the PM Kisan with higher tranches of cash, find other ways of getting cash into their pockets, because otherwise we're headed for a pretty serious crisis in rural India.
Yeah. Srinivasan, thanks so much for being with us. I'm joined at this stage by Nitin Kamath. He's the founder and CEO of Zerodha. Thank you very much, Mr. Kamath.
Thanks.
From investing for financial returns to now progressively investing for social returns, it's a different model. I mean, there is a financial investment in both cases. But how or why do you believe that this is so much more rewarding, particularly since it's something that affects and helps millions of farmers potentially in India?
I mean, see, firstly, as a business, we've been quite lucky in this last 2-3 months that we weren't affected as much. This whole work from home has enabled a lot of people, first-time investors, to come to the market. So as a business, we've not been affected. And so, as someone who's not affected in this lockdown, I think the onus is on businesses like us who are doing okay to actually stand up and do whatever to help the people who are actually affected, and even our customers, we cater, people who invest in the stock markets are maybe the top 1-2% of the country, which means, we need to somehow find a way to nudge them also to think like the same, which is just to say that at times like these, we all need to somehow figure ways to help those who are not as privileged as us. And that's one of the reasons why we're supporting Rang De. And I think right now the best way to help people who need help is actually put money in their hands. And I think that's how we're thinking of this.
Nitin, if you think of investing today, do you think so it's going to give you some solace that you'll be directly connecting with the farmer?
Absolutely. I think all of us have our conscience, and I think, making returns on your investment and all is one thing, in terms of money, but just doing something to kind of, satisfy your conscience, saying, you're doing something to help people who aren't privileged is also, is a right thing to do.
So, do you plan to invest? आप कुछ इसमें भाग लेना चाहेंगे?
No, absolutely. I mean, personally, I've committed 50 lakhs, and I am, as a business, we're gonna nudge our customers as well. To get on board and start, doing social investing. It's, as I said, it's not always about ROI. So in terms of money, it also has to be in terms of impact, and And I think an initiative like this is actually quite great in a sense.
नितिन, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कि आपने 50 लाख इस समय अपना योगदान दिया है। ये सीधे योगदान हमारे किसानों तक पहुंचेगा और जिस किसान ये को पहुंचेगा नितिन, आप उसको ट्रैक भी कर पाएंगे। कहा जा रहा है पूरी तरह से ट्रांसपेरेंट है। बहरहाल बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया एक बार फिर से। रंग दे के लिए आपने 50 लाख रुपए दिए। अब आइए आगे बढ़ते हैं। हमारे साथ एक और ख़ास मेहमान आदिल हुसैन, जाने माने एक्टर, हमारे साथ मौजूद हैं। आदिल जी, मैं आपसे ही जानना चाहूँगी, ये एक ऐसी मुहिम है कि समाज जो है सीधे अपने किसानों से जुड़ सकता है। हम शहरों में बैठे बहुत बातें करते हैं किसानों की, लेकिन आज हम सीधे उस तक पहुँच सकते हैं और देख भी सकते हैं, बात भी कर पाएंगे। कैसा क्या कहना चाहेंगे आप इस पे?
Before I start talking about it, I had my little stint with farming myself. I lived on a river island in Hampi in Karnataka for 3.5 years, and I had grown with the help of another person. जो भी हमें ज़रूरत था उस समय, the vegetables, and a few friends on another island was growing the pulses and rice grains and all that. And I know how hard it is to produce something from the soil. And the fact that I had been distressed by all these facts, which had been the death of the farmers, the suicide, the number of farmers committed suicide is incredibly obnoxious and horrendous thing that we have accepted it. Oh, the farmers commit suicide. So imagine the same numbers of doctors have committed suicide, same numbers of military personnel have committed suicide, and we have become immune to those news. So when I came to know about Rang De Basanti and about their initiative, they have explained to me, I'm not a person who understands business very well at all. And I'm one of those member of the society who completely avoids the business part of it, though I act in films, but my business sense is very little and people laugh at me because of that. So when Rang De Basanti explained to me how they're helping the farmers, how the money is actually going into the hands of farmers and the person who is investing it are keeping track or can keep track of the money that the amount is actually used. And I thought that these people are the heroes, the new sect of heroes that we are constantly seeing nowadays during the lockdown. The health workers, the safai people, those who supply us essential commodities. And I think farmers are equally should be respected as heroes, because without them, we will all die. We can't eat computers and cell phones, and we can't eat other technologically advanced equipments. We have to first survive food. So Rang De Basanti's program and their initiative trying to help the farmers, especially in the COVID-19 lockdown time, that they are not even charging interest. That's what I was being told. And I was completely touched and moved by them. Sitting in a lockdown situation in Delhi, I'm not being able to do anything. I feel extremely helpless about the entire situation. So I feel very, very, very moved and touched. And I really salute them for their initiative. And I hope that a lot of people and also NDTV to come together with them. And I hope through your program, a lot of people in whatever numbers and whatever amount of money they can invest through Rang De Basanti, which will go directly and honestly will be spent on the ground through the farmers.
Yeah. And
they will be able to sustain. It is, I'd say it's a sacred responsibility that
it is indeed, sir.
And other.
It is indeed. And thank you for being a part of that, a sacred responsibility. It's a wonderful way for you to really sum up what you were trying to say, and I couldn't agree more with you. Lakshmi Narayanan, the co-founder of Cognizant Technology Solutions, joins us. Thank you very much. Rang De's P2P lending in the context of farmers, and the need to support them. How do you support this initiative? And you also sort of partnered with them. Give us an idea of your association in this mission.
Yeah, thank you very much. And first and foremost, it's a great initiative. It's a great initiative on the part of Rangde. Ever since I met Ram and Smita and heard their story and their commitment, this is a different type of infection. I've been completely infected by their energy, by their enthusiasm to support the farmers and the agricultural community. So I have two aspects to it. One is finding the money that can help the farmers. First of all, the farmers are very hardworking people. They are very, very proud, very knowledgeable. They understand what needs to happen, etc. So to go and give them some knowledge and intellectual input is not necessary. What they really need is inputs to the farmland. This is something that I learned working with a similar initiative called I Support Farming, which is something that's focused on helping the farmers improve their income month after month, year after year. Began in the state of Tamil Nadu. Of course, the initial model that we started with, it's a subscription model where people would subscribe 5,000, 10,000 rupees. The money will reach the farmers through an organization called I Support Farming. What they would do is give them inputs, farm input, seeds, fertilizer, water resources, etc. And the proceeds, the biggest problem that the agricultural farmers, agricultural workers face is access to market. That is the biggest challenge that they have. And we were able to solve that challenge to these marginal farmers, beginning with about 4 acres, 5 acres, 10 acres, 4 farmers, 5 farmers, etc. These farmers were badly affected by the Varda cyclone that we had in Tamil Nadu, by the floods, and so on and so forth. So given all the challenges, we said there must be some sustainable way of helping these farmers on a continuing basis. Just getting some money immediately after the cyclone and leaving them high and dry later on is not a sustainable model. And that's how I Support Farming came into being. And now through the cooperation, through a similar model, we've been able to support about 200 farmers, diversifying their income, getting them to grow 2 cycles instead of 1, or 3 cycles of crops instead of 2, adding to their income by giving them poultry and creating poultry farms or fish farms and milch cows and so on, so that there is some hope for them and there is some visibility as to where their next meal is going to come from. Having accomplished that model, initially, of course, the subscription model didn't take off because the regulators felt that that's like a Ponzi scheme. It's like a chit fund scheme, and that's not the way we should go. They suggested that we create an AIF, and the funds from that could go there. Then finally, what we said is peer-to-peer lending is the way we want to go. Not only do we want to give the money from individual investors or lenders directly to the farmers, but also provide a return to the people who have invested that money in case the crops come out well. So that's when we partnered with Rangde. Rangde is going to help us create that platform
जी
where
नारायणन, आपने तफसील से मैं बताया और आपने जिस तरह से कहा आपको रंगदे का इन्फेक्शन हो गया था कोरोना के समय में, बहुत अच्छा रहा क्योंकि हमारे किसानों को इससे बहुत फ़ायदा हो रहा है। आपको बता दें अपने दर्शकों को कि अभी इस समय हमने 1 करोड़ 30 लाख रुपए अपने किसानों के लिए इकट्ठा कर लिए हैं। आप लोग भी शिरकत कर सकते हैं। 100 रुपये तक की भी आप अपना योगदान दे सकते हैं। आपको ndtv.com/rangde पर जाकर अपना योगदान देना है। बहरहाल आइए आगे बढ़ते हैं। महजबीन पूनावाला, कंट्री हेड ऑफ इंडिया फिनेस्ट्रा है हमारे साथ। Thank you so much for joining, Ms. Poonawala. I would just like to know your thoughts right now about Rangde and the scheme that it has for the farmers.
Yeah, hi, good evening, everyone, and thanks for having us on the show. So the initiative is really a very noble initiative and very, very close to not only my personal mission, but also Finastra's vision and mission. So Finastra has been supporting Rangde's financial inclusion programs in rural communities across India for a number of years now. And we have been doing this by supporting their pioneering financial literacy training that aims to educate people on how they can use financial services provided by banks to lead better lives. We have also collaborated with Rangde on an initiative which is very close to my heart, which is to enable micro-lending platform to provide affordable loans to women entrepreneurs so that they can start new businesses that support their communities and solve local challenges.
And ma'am, I must ask you this. You wanted to be a part of this by making a valuable contribution yourself. Tell us about that contribution and why you've done it.
Yeah, sure. So social innovation is at the heart of Finastra's culture. Now, we believe strongly in the idea of doing well by doing good, by unlocking the potential of people, businesses, and communities. Now, the focus as Finastra has always been to bring people and technology together so that we could have a greater social impact.
Right.
And this initiative is perfectly aligned with that vision because it aims at teaching people of all backgrounds how financial services can help support their life goals. So, such as buying their home or starting their own businesses, and importantly, reducing the number of unbanked people across India. So, banking the unbanked and driving financial inclusion, so these have been Finastra's highest goals, and it is a core reason why we exist, and that motivates us every single day. So, Finastra is dedicated to enabling an open innovation culture by teaching people how to use financial products, by providing affordable access to them, and encouraging entrepreneurship. We firmly believe 2 out of 3 net new jobs will come from startups and small businesses. So these programs will help to reduce unemployment, create higher tax revenues for the government, to invest in public sector and infrastructure,
and
ultimately reduce poverty.
And I believe you want to make a contribution here yourself, am I right?
Yes, that's right. So we are contributing handsomely to this initiative, not only to the financial literacy program, but we are also creating a fund to tech seed innovative ideas by contributing to Rangde's initiative and collaborating with them on this particular platform.
And what is the value of the fund, ma'am?
The value of the fund, the innovation fund, is to the tune of USD $15,000. That's the initial seed fund that we would be contributing.
Right.
And towards the financial literacy program, we are contributing 25 lakhs.
Wow, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for contributing in such a substantive form. Thank you very much indeed.
और अब विष्णु हमारे साथ सुधारा कोलवे हैं, डॉक्यूमेंट्री फोटोग्राफर, और ये किसानों के साथ काम करते हैं। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया हमारे साथ जुड़ने के लिए। जो तस्वीरें होती हैं हम अपने किसानों की लेते हैं, उनकी जो परेशानियां हैं सामने आती हैं। जो रंगदे की मुहिम है, इसके ज़रिए आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे? आपने तो किसानों के साथ बहुत काम भी किया है।
मैं काफ़ी देश में किसानों के घर पे गया हूँ, जैसे उड़ीसा है, महाराष्ट्र है, मध्य प्रदेश है, छत्तीसगढ़ है। उनके घर जाके जो छोटे छोटे मजदूर किसान हैं, जिनकी 4 एकड़ 3 एकड़ ज़मीन है, और उनके घर जाके तस्वीरें की है, उनसे मिला हूँ, बात की है। मैं आपको बता दूं कि मैं महाराष्ट्र से हूँ, विदर्भ रीजन से। वहाँ पे सबसे ज़्यादा सुसाइड आपको पता ही है विदर्भ के बारे में। लेकिन मैं तो अभी कुछ दिन पहले बीड़ गया था, जो मराठवाड़ा एरिया है। वहाँ पे मैंने जो यंग मदर्स है उनको फोटोग्राफ किए थे, जो 20 साल की और 23 साल की औरतें हैं, लड़कियां हैं, उनको 3-3 बच्चे हैं और उनके हस्बैंड ने सुसाइड किया है सिर्फ 5,000 रुपए का लोन के लिए, जो 2 लाख रुपया हो गया है, और वो वापस नहीं दे पाए इसके लिए, और घर में भी कुछ लेके नहीं आ पाए इसके लिए उन्होंने सुसाइड किया है। तो 4-5 ऐसा ही है। मैं अभी पिछले 2 महीने पहले मैं उड़ीसा गया था, कोरापुट और उड़ीसा के काफ़ी गाँव में, और मैंने वहाँ पे फोटोग्राफ किया जो प्रेग्नेंट लेडी है कि वो दिन में क्या खाती है। सब फार्मर्स के घर पे गया था, तो 50 से 60% जो औरतें हैं जिनके मेरे पास फोटोग्राफ है, उनके प्लेट के साथ सिर्फ राइस और सॉल्ट है, उसमें दूसरा नहीं है, और ये फार्मर्स है ये इनके घर में। तो मुझे लगता है कि ये जो इनिशिएटिव है रंगदे का और आपका, ये बहुत ही इनके लिए बहुत ही जरूरी है।
बिल्कुल सुधारक
पे
जी,
सड़क नहीं है।
आप आए, जुड़े, इसके लिए बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। अब हम सीधे अपने दर्शकों को मध्य प्रदेश ले चलते हैं। मध्य प्रदेश के मंडला में मोहनिया पटपारा जगह है। यहाँ पे पुन्नू लाल नंदा मौजूद हैं। ये एक किसान हैं, 3 एकड़ की इनकी ज़मीन है। पुन्नू लाल जी, आपको मदद मिली है, पहुँची है रंगदे की इस मुहिम से, ज़रा दर्शकों को बताइए क्या आपका अनुभव रहा।
जी मैम, ये जो रंगदे का ये जो लाभ पहुंचा रहे हैं बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है। हम किसानों की जो इसमें लॉकडाउन के तहत हम लोगों को जितना, जो मैं अपने बारे में बात कहने जा रहा हूँ दर्शकों को, कि मेरे 3 एकड़ जो जमीन है उसमें मैं कुछ 2 एकड़ में गेहूं लगाया था और 1 एकड़ में सब्जी, तो आधा एकड़ में बैगन और आधा एकड़ में टमाटर। तो उसमें हमको बहुत ही ज्यादा नुकसान हुआ क्योंकि मार्च के महीने में लॉकडाउन का ये प्रक्रिया शुरू हो गया और हम मार्केट तक नहीं बेच पाए। इससे हमको बहुत बड़ा नुकसान हुआ। ऐसे मेरे जैसे लघु किसान, छोटा किसान, बहुत सारे लोग इनमें जुड़े हुए हैं। हम मंडला ट्राइबल पीसी है, आशा के थ्रू उसमें काम करते हैं। मतलब हम सब किसान सब्जी और कुछ गेहूं बीज उत्पादन का काम करते हैं। तो हम लोग अपना फसल बेचने में सोसाइटी में बड़ी मजबूर है। तो मैं कहना चाहूंगा कि रंगदे से जो भी किसानों को मदद मिलेगा
जी,
उसमें हम खाद बीज के कर पाएंगे ये खरीफ के लिए।
जी।
अभी 20,000 तक 50,000 तक हम किसानों को अगर रंगदे से मिल जाता है तो खाद बीज का
जरूर 50,000 में काफी कुछ हो पाएगा इस अमाउंट से। थैंक यू सर, आप हमारे साथ बात करने पे। Thank you so much indeed. Joining us now, Ram NK, the co-founder and managing director of Rangde, and Smita Ram. She's also co-founder and CEO. Thank you so much. And it's wonderful to see your beaming faces. You must be delighted at how this is going. We've got contributions over the last 1 hour itself. But you know, as I went through and heard everything that your colleagues told me about your venture, I just had one question. How did you think up this idea? And why did you do it in the first place all those years back? I mean, how did you think something like this up?
So we really wanted to, get back to India and start something in the social space. And we had set a goal for ourselves. The year was 2006. And we didn't really worry about what that problem would be, we would be looking at. Because if you come from a country like India, you're spoiled for choice. But 2006 was a very interesting year. It was the same year when Mohammed Yunus and the Grameen Bank won the Nobel Peace Prize. Yes. And that is when we learned for the first time about microcredit. And when we looked at it from an India perspective, we noticed that India still had a long way to go. And also we noticed that the credit was very, very expensive. Even institutional credit was very expensive. And we zeroed down on creating a platform which would not only lower the cost of credit, but it also bridge the empathy gap between individuals who are lending money and individuals who are actually borrowing.
And I'm just, the model of Grameen Bank, which you spoke about, is Mohammed Yunus an idol, somebody who you really saw up to, and his role in transforming the lives of millions in Bangladesh, Smita, is that somebody who you really look up to?
Oh yes, he was definitely an inspiration, and the whole model was really about how do you help the poor also become, how do you also put money in the hands of people, not just as credit, but how do you help them become more financially independent. I think it was very well thought through, and that was definitely an inspiration. It was very holistic, and that really laid the foundation for what we wanted to do at Rangde.
राम, एक छोटा सा मेरा सवाल आपसे ये कि आप हमारे दर्शकों को हिंदी में बता दीजिए कि किस तरह से बिल्कुल पारदर्शी होगा और जो किसान है उस तक ये पहुंचेगा।
तो हम लोग क्या करते हैं कि जैसे आपने शुरुआत में सुना होगा, डॉक्टर रामू जिस संस्थान को चलाते हैं वो है सेंटर फॉर सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर, और इन ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस के साथ हम पार्टनरशिप करते हैं और वो हमारी मदद करते हैं कि जो ज़रूरतमंद किसान हैं हम उन तक हम पहुंच पाएं, और जब वो उनको हमसे जोड़ते हैं तो फिर जो हम उनके खातों में डायरेक्टली ये लोन ट्रांसफर करते हैं, तो हमारे जो पार्टनर हैं जो सेंटर, और हमने ASA की भी बात की, आपने वीडियो दिखाया एक्शन फॉर सोशल एडवांसमेंट, तो इन पार्टनर्स के जरिए हम किसानों तक पहुंचते हैं। और ये पूरी जो प्रक्रिया है ये आप ऑनलाइन देख सकते हैं कि कौन हमारे पार्टनर हैं और किस तरह से हम उनको लोन दे रहे हैं और किस तरह से वो लोन उसको रिपे कर रहे हैं।
जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आप दोनों का कि आप दोनों जुड़े, और उम्मीद करते हैं कि ज़्यादा से ज़्यादा किसानों को फ़ायदा पहुंचाया जा सकेगा। आगे बढ़ते हैं और अपने दर्शकों को बता दें कि रेन ट्री फाउंडेशन ने 10 लाख रंग दे मुहिम में इन्वेस्ट किए। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया रेन ट्री इन्वेस्टमेंट। और अब दो खास अभिनेता हैं, अभिनेत्री श्रुति हसन और साथ ही पंकज त्रिपाठी, इन दोनों ने भी इस मुहिम के लिए संदेश दिया है। आइए सुनते हैं।
I think it's very important for us. I know that all of us are going through a time that's financially uncertain. You, me, everyone. It doesn't matter of good startup. But there are people who are in way dire circumstances, dire straits compared to us, you know. And everything that you do, every thought, every organization or NGO, anything that you can associate with the cause that you care about, it could be, you know, for the migrant workers, it could be for farmers, it could be for mental health. It could be for orphanages, whatever it is. I think it's very important that people take the time to care for one another. So kindness, as I said.
किसानों की दिक्कतें तो बहुत सारी हैं, क्या बताएं। मौसम से आधारित काम है। अभी इस साल गेहूं कटने को तैयार थे अप्रैल में, और अचानक मेरे गांव में, मेरे इलाके में बारिश हो गई, ओले पड़ गए, खेतों में खड़ा गेहूं सड़ने लगा। तो दुखद है। अब हमारे देश में किसान 4 रुपये किलो आलू बेचते हैं और ऑलमोस्ट हम लोग चिप्स 100-200 रुपये किलो खाते हैं इसी देश में। कोई नहीं सोचता उस पर। हाँ, आप देखेंगे बहुतों को पता भी नहीं कि हम चिप्स जो खाते हैं वो 200, 250, 300 रुपये किलो तक चिप्स बिकते हैं इसी मुल्क में, जहाँ किसान अपने आलू को 4 रुपये किलो बेचता है। मैं खुद किसान था, आलू का पैदा किया हूँ। तो हर किसी को वाजिब और समय पर उसका मेहनताना मिलना ही चाहिए।
All right. Well, joining us, Shraddha Sharma, the founder and CEO of Your Story. Thank you so much for being with us. Give us your thoughts and your views on social investing. You know, we heard the story of Grameen Bank and Bangladesh and microcredit over there. It's really not something that's developed in a very big way in India until Rang De. What is the potential of a peer-to-peer model like this between those who want to contribute and those who actually gain?
You know, even if it hasn't been so popular right now, I think this is the time, and Rang De is doing a fantastic job, because if you look at startups in India, there's so many who are leveraging technology to solve interesting solutions. But Rang De has done a brilliant job because they're using technology to actually connect to farmers, and all of us today exist and we are surviving and we are growing because of farmers, and they're using this peer-to-peer lending, leveraging technology, and making sure that the farmers in this country are provided with money, with capital, which is more than necessary now. And I think we all need to rally with Rang De. I have known them. They are very, very honest, amazing bunch of people committed to the cause for so many years. And I'm very, thankful that they're doing this and actually making sure that the farmers today get the capital that they need, and that too through peer-to-peer lending.
श्रद्धा, हमारा समाज इससे जुड़े और इसमें योगदान दे, एक ये विश्वास पैदा हो, उसके लिए क्या और हो सकता है? क्या आपकी सोच है?
विश्वास तो थोड़ा तो विश्वास लेके चलना पड़ेगा, एंड आई थिंक जो अब हम पहले काम करते हैं ना, जैसे रंग दे है, ये कितने सालों से लगा हुआ है और यही काम कर रहे हैं ना। एंड इफ यू लुक एट द फाउंडर्स, ये जो लोग हैं इनके पीछे, मतलब उनका ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड देखिए, मतलब दे हैव कमिटेड देमसेल्व्स टू दिस कॉज, एंड आई थिंक व्हेन यू सी पीपल लाइक दैट हु आर स्टैंडिंग ऑन द ग्राउंड एंड मेकिंग श्योर थिंग्स आर हैपनिंग, ऐसे लोगों को मतलब हम सबको बिना सोचे सपोर्ट करना चाहिए, बिकॉज दे आर डूइंग व्हाट वी कांट डू. वी कांट टुडे गो टू, मैं बिहार से हूँ, मैं आज बिहार में जाके फार्मर्स को पैसा नहीं दे सकती हूँ, बट थ्रू रंग डे आई नो दैट देयर विल बी सो मेनी पीपल who will be impacted, and why not? I think we all in India need to support and contribute to this initiative.
Yeah. Absolutely. We all need to be a part of this. Giri Giridhar, the Executive Vice President and Chief Financial Officer of the Indian Hotels Company, joins us. Thanks very much for being a part of this and joining us on this program. You know, we've been talking about funds. We've been talking about the money raised and where it goes. But I think we aren't talking enough about one very important aspect. How is this about respect and dignity of farmers and an entire community in so many different parts of the country at a time of economic distress for so many of us in India right now? How is this about dignity and ensuring that that never goes away?
No, that is absolutely correct. Thank you for inviting me on this. And I think it is so sad to see that in times of crisis, the farmers who kind of work are suddenly left high and dry. And the sad thing is that they are forced to sell produce at sub-market rates, and they get exploited actually. So not only is the hard work goes waste, but also what happens is that we don't respect the hard work and the dignity of the farmers actually. And hence I think a program like this, which seeks to help them to tide over the crisis. And the beauty of this is that it's not money given for free. A farmer doesn't necessarily need money to be given for free. He takes the money as a loan and returns it back. And all it is a bridge which helps him to continue his activities, sustain, and able to get the right prices for his produce. And hence, I think it's all about dignity at this point of time.
गिरिधर जी, आपका अनुभव कैसा रहा? क्योंकि आप भी इससे जुड़े थे, आपने भी योगदान दिया था, तो आपका अनुभव कैसा रहा?
Yeah, so I think I have known Rangde for more than 10 years. And I think what always intrigued me when I first got introduced to Rangde and earlier through the global organizations like Kiva, I think I was intrigued by the fact that gift is one thing where you give away, and Rangde kind of organizations on the basis of a P2P kind of lending essentially ensures that there is a big multiplier effect, because it's the sum of money that you give, which is very insignificant for each one of us. And then it comes back. And when it comes back, the reality is that you don't take it back. In fact, I have been social investing on the platform for more than 10 years. The money comes back. The recovery has always been near 100% because of the on-ground systems. And then what happens is that you don't really take the money back and it just gets used. I get an email from Rangde saying that you got so much credit back. And then you just use the money to give it back to the people that you want to give. So it's a fantastic multiplier effect, where 10,000 invested today can be given to multiple people. The same money rotates actually. And hence I think that experience has been wonderful actually. And in fact, in my own experience, when I started my career, I used to work with farmers in Andhra Pradesh, where I saw, this was way back in 1988, where even the systems were even poorer. And the company that I was working for used to provide seedlings, used to provide fertilizers, used to arrange funds and buy back the produce at a reasonable price. This was way back actually. Today, the processes are still much better, but the concept is the same. How do we enable livelihoods and make sure that the funding is available so that the farmers can do their work, produce what they have to do, and also live a life of dignity? I think that's what it is. So I think I'm very impressed with what Rangde has done actually.
Right. No, thank you. And you know, that entire issue of dignity is so very important. And thank you so much for referring to that. Well, there's some more good news, and we've got plenty of it so far on this program. The latest bit, an anonymous investor from Bengaluru has contributed 10 lakhs. Thank you very much for making that contribution. Thanks very much indeed. And here are some more messages of support as well from the Optum family.
We truly hope this campaign garners broad community support and momentum, and urge the civil society to join and invest in this cause.
I am so pleased to partner with Rangde and support them in their efforts to help small marginal farmers in India.
We've always believed in the power of working along with partners to help us reach the communities in which we operate. Rangde has launched this campaign at a time when access to credit is the need of the hour for the unbanked. We hope this campaign takes off in a big way and encourages more individuals and companies to come forward and join.
Your communities need you now more than ever before. And I encourage other companies to donate and join this effort so that we can all make a difference.
Well, joining us now, Scott Clayson, the CEO of Optum Care. Thanks very much for being with us. I think we're all agreed on this being a fantastic idea, something that so many can benefit from. But how important is it in your belief of having an important curation process, a strong curation process whereby one actually knows that the funds which are being raised go to those who deserve it most?
Thank you for having me, and I'm proud to be a part of this initiative. We've been a long supporter of Rangde's work, and for several years. And I do think it's important to know that when you're contributing, that the money is going to the cause that you had expected it to go to. So, the integrity of the organizations you work with is really critical to us, and Rangde has demonstrated integrity throughout. And their mission aligns very closely with Optum's mission in terms of supporting farmers and our food supply chain as well. One of our mission statements is helping people live healthier lives, and there's nothing more important than that, than a sustainable food chain. Yep. And that can't happen unless we have people that are economically supported in the farming communities.
And the point that this is not a donation in that sense, it's a loan. That's how this entire system works. That means that the people who are receiving these funds have a certain responsibility as well in the long run.
Yeah, that's very true. And trusted stewards to be able to invest the money wisely and make sure it gets ultimately to the people that need it most.
Yeah, I believe that you're going to be coming in with a contribution yourself. Give us an idea of what you can announce on this program.
Yeah, we're proud to announce that Optum is contributing $143,000 in US dollars to support the small farmers through Rangde.
That's fantastic. As I understand it, that's more than 1 crore Indian rupees, and that's a huge amount of money, something that would transform not families, but I think a very large area with hundreds of families in them. Thank you so much for announcing that and for your support to Rangde and this cause. Thanks very much indeed. Well, let's turn our attention now. Thank you. Let's turn our attention to Andhra Pradesh and get to know firsthand how social investment actually works. Let's also reiterate that social investment is not charity. How you're investing small and marginal farmers is something where there is a great deal of accountabilities from the farmers themselves. Let's give you some examples.
Hammering away at tamarind pods to separate the fleshy pulp from the crusty cover, men and women, young and elderly, all are involved in this participatory community activity that supports about 30 families in this tribal hamlet of Vishakhapatnam in Andhra Pradesh.
మాకు ఊరుమడిగా ఒక 40 చింత చెట్లు అంటే ఊరుమడి తోట ఉందండి. దాని ద్వారాగా ఎంతో కొంత అమౌంట్ సంవత్సరానికి రావడం జరుగుతుంది. మాకు 2017-18 సంవత్సరంలోన సుమారు 1,60,000 దాకా రావడం జరిగింది. దాని ద్వారాగా మేము మైక్ షెట్టును జనరేటర్ కొనడం జరిగింది. మిగిలిన అమౌంట్తోన ఊర్లోనే చిన్న ఏమైనా మరమ్మతులు గట్రా ఉంటే అది చేయడం జరుగుతుంది. అలాగే హెల్త్ పరంగా ఎవరికైనా బాగలేకపోయినా వాళ్ళకి చిన్న సహాయాలు చేయడం జరుగుతుంది.
The last 2 months have been tough for villagers of Balabhadram. As a fallout of the pandemic, prices fluctuated and there were no buyers for the processed tamarind. There was a drastic drop in sales, no money even to buy meager and essential inputs like seeds. That's when interest-free credit extended by Rangde, an organization working to help small and marginal farmers, came as a godsend. Distressed sales were stopped and the tamarind stock was put away in a cold storage facility in the area.
అలాగే ప్రభుత్వం నుంచి కనుక మాకు ఏమైనా అమౌంట్ కనుక మాకు చిన్న సహకారం అందిస్తే మాకు మా గ్రామం ఇంకా అభివృద్ధి చేసుకోవాల్సిందిగా మేము ప్రజలందరూ తీర్మానించుకోవడం జరుగుతుందండి.
Rangde's partner in Andhra Pradesh, Vasan, works with marginalized communities like this one with a participatory approach to strengthen natural resources management to secure livelihoods. They engage and empower economically disadvantaged communities, particularly scheduled caste and tribes that are worst hit in pandemics like COVID-19.
और अब हमारे साथ दो खास मेहमान, मिस्टर अशोक पाल सिंह, फॉर्मर मेंबर पोस्टल सर्विसेज बोर्ड एंड एमडी सीईओ इंडिया पोस्ट पेमेंट्स बैंक, और साथ ही हमारे साथ अजय वीर झाकर भी मौजूद हैं, जो भारतीय कृषक समाज जो फार्मर्स फोरम ऑफ इंडिया उसके चेयरमैन हैं। अजय पाल जी सिंह जी, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया आप दोनों का जुड़ने के लिए। मिस्टर सिंह, मेरा सवाल पहले आपसे ये है कि जो ये स्कीम है इस समय जो आज हमारे सामने आया रंगदे का, ये इंटरेस्ट फ्री लोन है, बिना ब्याज के ये एक लोन होगा, और अहम ये भी है कि आरबीआई द्वारा ये मॉनिटर हो रहा है। क्या आपके विचार इस पर?
देखिए, ये आज की तारीख में बहुत ही एक इम्पोर्टेंट गैप को फिल कर रहा है। हर व्यक्ति ये चाह रहा है कि मैं कैसे किसान की मदद करूं जिसने ये इंश्योर करा है कि फूड की शॉर्टेज ना हो, और कैसे मैं माइग्रेंट लेबरर की मदद करूं जो कि सड़क पर है, और ये दोनों कनेक्टेड है। ये माइग्रेंट लेबर घर से इसलिए आया था क्योंकि अपॉर्चुनिटीज नहीं थी। रंगदे क्या कर रहा है कि ये किसान को लोन प्रोवाइड कर रहा है, और ये रूरल सोशल एंटरप्रेन्योर को लोन प्रोवाइड कर रहा है। ये जो माइग्रेंट लेबर इस वक्त घर जा रहा है, ये शहर से एंटरप्रेन्योरल स्किल्स लेके जा रहा है। अगर आप और मैं इस मूवमेंट को ज्वाइन करें तो हम किसान की भी मदद कर सकते हैं और माइग्रेंट लेबर की भी मदद कर सकते हैं। ये दोनों हमें सर्व करते हैं, और रंगदे ये प्लेटफॉर्म प्रोवाइड कर रहा है जो कि पूरी तरह से रेगुलेटेड है। और ये पैसा कौन पहुंचा रहा है? रंगदे का प्रेफर्ड बैंक पोस्ट ऑफिस है, इंडिया पोस्ट पेमेंट्स बैंक है। और यहाँ पर जो श्रीनिवास कह रहे थे कि स्टेट का वैक्यूम है, ऐसा नहीं है। द गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया थ्रू दीज इंस्टीट्यूशंस इज रीचिंग मनी to the pockets of the people in need, even through initiatives outside its fold like Rangde.
Absolutely. Okay. Mr. Jakar, let me come to you, and this is again something that we don't talk about enough. There is this constant process where people live in cities and they don't really think beyond their immediate surroundings. There is an empathy gap between urban India and rural India. How does something like this, where people who are financially better off can contribute to millions of farmers who feed us, how does that actually go a long way in bridging this empathy gap, which is really what we should be doing?
I think it is Rangde is a very good initiative, and it should lead to more such initiatives. People should get inspired by this initiative, and more such initiatives. We hope to look forward to more such initiatives across India. And I think this connect between consumers and farmers is definitely required, and this will also highlight the problem that farmers have, and it will help the people in urban areas, consumers, the affluent societies who can afford to help, who want to help, and they did not have a means to help. Now they can use such organizations, such initiatives to actually fulfill their own needs to help farmers. And I think this is a very, very good initiative, and we look forward to this doing very well in future. And also other similar initiatives getting together and having a broader strategy. If you look at other initiatives in this field, there are lots of organizations which are giving extension services to farmers, are helping them in other ways. But I believe this is one of its kind initiative which will actually be giving interest-free loans to farmers and helping them. And I think so as it expands, it will also be giving them extension advice, and it will be helping them in other ways in procuring inputs and selling their produce. I think the whole ecosystem will fit in over a period of time. It's a fantastic initiative.
एक सवाल मैं आपसे पूछना चाह रही थी, लेकिन उससे पहले मैं अपने दर्शकों को हम बताना चाहेंगे कि अब तक हम लोग 3 करोड़ रुपए जमा कर चुके हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आप सबके योगदान के लिए। आभार व्यक्त हम सब कर रहे हैं अपने किसानों के प्रति। 3 करोड़ अब तक इकट्ठा हो गए। अजय जी, मेरा सवाल ये था आपसे कि आप जिस तरह से बता रहे थे कि एक रंगदे की मुहिम है, इंटरेस्ट फ्री लोन हम दे रहे हैं, और भी ऐसे संगठन होंगे, लेकिन हमारे किसानों तक ये पहुँचे, ये बहुत अहम है। हमारे किसान का हाथ पकड़कर अभी हमें उसको भरोसा दिलाना है कि हम आपके साथ हैं, हम आपका आभार व्यक्त करते हैं। ये होने में कितना समय लगेगा?
मेरे हिसाब से ये चीज़ का कोई अंत नहीं है। एक ये रास्ते पे अपने चले हैं, और ये रास्ता बहुत लंबा है, तो हमें इसका कब पहुंचेंगे उस नतीजे पे, क्योंकि इतने किसान हैं, मेरा मतलब 15 करोड़ परिवार हैं जो खेती से जुड़े हुए हैं। तो ये एक बहुत बढ़िया शुरुआत है और मैं समझता हूं कि ये शुरुआत से ये ज़्यादा ज़रूरी है कि इसको देख के और बहुत सारे ऐसे इनिशिएटिव्स चालू हो जाएंगे जो यही काम करना चाहेंगे, जिनको मालूम नहीं था कि वो किसानों की मदद कैसे करें। शहर में जो रहते थे बहुत सारे लोग मदद भी करना चाहते थे, तो मेरे हिसाब से एक उनको तरीका मिल गया है मदद करने का, और यही सबसे ज़रूरी मैं समझता हूँ। इस ये रंग दे का सबसे बड़ा जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है वो यही है कि ये भी बहुत बढ़िया काम करेंगे और इनको देखा देख और भी संस्थाएं ऐसा काम करना चालू कर देंगी।
Mr. Ashokpal Singh, another interesting point over here is when we talk about a digital India, how is this something which is digitally enabled, that which in itself helps the process of it being transparent, it leverages people who transmit money online, and it gets to people who have perhaps not had access to this technology in the past?
I think in two ways. One is it's providing end-to-end transparency, where right from the person who puts in money to the one who receives money, they can see this all happening step by step in real time. The second thing that technology is doing is that almost in real time, this funding takes place in the last mile, which until a couple of years was not even envisageable. So technology out here, it's providing trust, it's providing reliability, it's providing reach, and more importantly, it's connecting the entire ecosystem. Whether it's a bank or it's a post office, it's a Rangde, it's an investor, it's an investee, all of these are coming together on one platform, which Rangde has done a terrific job in putting together.
Yeah. They've done a tremendous job. I couldn't agree more. Sandeep Patil, the Managing Director of IBM India and South Asia, joins us. Mr. Patel, thanks very much for being with us. Now, the weather company is an IBM business, and it's something which, in a country like ours, has a direct impact on the lives of farmers in terms of the produce, in terms of weather conditions in a particular area. Give us an idea of how this particular service involves and assists our farmers across India on a monthly basis.
Sure. So look, farmers are essentially looking for two types of information. One is accurate rain forecast that enables them to decide when and how much to irrigate. And secondly, understand the impact of weather on potential risks to crop health, right? And this is the way they can take informed preemptive decisions. And to do this, they need short-term forecasts, and they need this information at a hyper-local sub-acre level. And this is where, we are doing things which we are calling precision agriculture. So it's a set of solutions. One is by combining multiple global satellite-based information sources with weather company data to compute actionable agronomic insights for individual farmers at a sub-acre level. And we are doing this in conjunction with the Ministry of Agriculture. We've done it in 4 districts already: Rajkot, Nanded, Bhopal, and Varanasi. And in addition to that, this information is required in short-term interval forecasts. And to do that, we are leveraging IBM's supercomputing model called IBM Graph, coupled with weather company data, to bring short-term forecasts in India. And this is the way we can enable farmers to turn the unanticipated to envisioned and enable them to take preemptive decisions.
And Mr. Patel, how can people like food aggregators, processors, distributors, how can they use technology to make supply chains resilient and also future-proof?
So look, the key issue in making supply chains a lot more resilient is the timely access to the right data, and the kind of data that actually is required to and which impacts demand and supply cycles in agri-food chains are things like, what is growing where, the appropriate farm price for the produce, what is the timely access for processing and distribution centers. So this is the kind of information that's required. And this is where technologies like artificial intelligence, blockchain, IoT, remote sensing, cloud can actually help to bridge this gap by providing accurate weather forecasts, citizen information that is pushed out through mobile apps, using trusted artificial intelligence for farm level decision making. And there are several others. But let me give you a very specific example. So we have been working with the Karnataka Agricultural Price Commission in the area of tomato production, right? And what we have done is developed with them an advanced first-of-a-kind price forecasting system, which is a dashboard leveraging IBM's Watson decision platform for agriculture, as well as big data, artificial intelligence, machine learning, etc. And it does two things. One, it assesses the acreage and monitors crop health on a real-time basis. And second, it predicts market level price trends for at least a fortnight, and then aligns it with the production pattern of tomatoes. So this is again an example where technology can be leveraged to provide timely, accurate, relevant information and data to enable better decisions and sort of save any wastage in food production.
Yeah, and real-time data, and that's so important to get information on a real-time basis. Thank you very much, Mr. Patel, for being with us. Well, joining us now, Dr. Ramanani, the founder of the Center for Sustainable Agriculture. So when we talk about farming and where these funds go, on the one hand, these funds can target farmers who are looking to get some sort of liquidity, can help them raise the funds they need to buy something. But how can these funds also assist in livelihoods associated with agriculture, which doesn't have to be farming itself?
Many times when farmers want to buy small chicks for livelihoods, so backyard poultry kind of thing, or food processing as a livelihood, number of small enterprises which can be set up at the village level, they lack access to the credit. They lack investment, they lack assets. So in a situation when there is no assets and investment, taking up livelihood becomes extremely difficult. So for the particularly landless people and small and marginal farmers who lack assets, the support from organizations like Rangde will be certainly of great help. We work with large number of small and marginal farmers in Andhra, Telangana, where we organize them into farmers cooperatives, and then we also help them to move towards organic production. But we also found that about 30 to 40% of their income is still low, which cannot come from cultivation. So we help them to take up additional livelihoods like backyard poultry, to buy goats and then take up goat production, or take up food processing and many other livelihoods. So when we are taking it up, investment for buying equipment, small machines kind of thing is something which is required, and also in terms of working capital to make to buy the inputs and then make the product and then sell. So these two becomes very, very critical, and the investment which comes from Rangdev kind of organizations can help us significantly over there. Then what we do is we organize them into cooperatives. So all cooperatives sell under the same brand name. These farmers cooperatives are also federated into a federation called Sahaja Aharam. So they sell through retail stores which are owned by the farmers cooperative in Hyderabad and Visakhapatnam. Currently they are doing that. So to that we are trying to link up these small livelihoods also.
बिल्कुल डॉक्टर रामू, आपने सही कहा कि जो ये योगदान होगा, जो ये पैसा मिलेगा किसान को, लोन मिलेगा, वो अपनी मर्जी से इसका इस्तेमाल कर सकते हैं। किसानी उपकरण भी खरीद सकते हैं। खरीफ सीज़न आ रहा है, जब बुआई होगी तो उसके लिए भी किसी काम के लिए इस्तेमाल किया जा सकता है। बहरहाल बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद आपका डॉक्टर रामू। और आगे बढ़ने से पहले बता दें कि मुंबई से एनोनिमस इन्वेस्टर ने अभी 20 लाख रुपए का योगदान दिया है। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया, आप जो भी हैं, जहाँ पे भी हैं, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आइए आगे बढ़ते हैं। हमारे साथ मोहित सत्यानंद, चेयरमैन टीम वर्क आर्ट्स हैं। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद मोहित जी। आप उत्तराखंड से हैं, वहाँ पर हैं, और हम देख रहे हैं बहुत लोगों का पलायन। एक समय था जब उत्तराखंड के जो युवा थे वो शहरों में आ जाते थे, अब एक रिवर्स माइग्रेशन हम देख रहे हैं। ज़मीनी स्थिति किस तरह से आप आंक रहे हैं, क्या हालात आप देख रहे हैं?
पहले मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि मैं इस वक्त दिल्ली में हूँ मैं 30 साल से उत्तराखंड, खासकर कुमाऊं के नैनीताल जिले में मेरा घर है और मैं करीबन आधा समय दिल्ली और उत्तराखंड में बिताता हूँ। तो पिछले 30 सालों से मैं ये देख रहा हूँ कि वहाँ जो पलायन था वो अभी भी है दिल्ली की तरफ, लेकिन थोड़ा सा घटा है। लेकिन वहाँ कोई आमदनी की कोई रास्ता नहीं है और पहाड़ों में खेती बाड़ी से किसी का गुजारा नहीं चलता। तो इन सालों में मैं कई संस्थाओं से जुड़ा हुआ हूँ जो कि वहाँ कोई अन्य आमदनी खड़ा करने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं। तो इन संस्थाओं ने पिछले सालों में प्रोड्यूसर ग्रुप बनाए हैं। कुछ लोग साबुन बना रहे हैं, कुछ लोग व्हीट जर्म बना रहे हैं, कुछ लोग एप्रिकॉट ऑयल बना रहे हैं, कुछ जैम्स बना रहे हैं, शॉल्स बना रहे हैं। तो वहाँ बहुत क्रिएटिविटी जाहिर हुआ है और पिछले 8-10 सालों में इन संस्थाओं की मदद से लोगों की आमदनी भी काफी बढ़ी है। इनका डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन भी दिल्ली जैसे शहरों में काफी बढ़ चुका है, लेकिन ये कोविड के आने से बिल्कुल जैसा एक फुल स्टॉप हो गया और जो प्रोडक्ट्स उनके पास पड़े हुए हैं वो यहाँ आने से रुके हुए हैं, यहाँ से पैसे वापस नहीं जा रहे हैं। तो मुझे ये लग रहा है कि अगर ये स्थिति थोड़ी सी लंबी खिंच जाए तो वो जो एक चेन बना हुआ है वहां से प्रोड्यूस लेने का, उसको कन्वर्ट करने में और उसको शहर में लाके उसको बेचने का, वो बिल्कुल टूट ना जाए। इन लोगों को भिखारी बनाना या उनसे कहना कि अब आप एमएनआ लीजिए में जुड़ जाओ और पैसे कमाओ, ये बहुत बहुत शर्म की बात होगी उनके लिए और हम लोगों के लिए,
जी सत्यानंद जी,
पूरे देश के लिए।
जी, जिस तरह से आपने कहा कि उत्तराखंड के जो किसान हैं एक्सपेरिमेंटल फार्मिंग कर रहे हैं और अन्य तरीकों में चीज़ों में वो उगाते हैं और कोविड की वजह से ये स्थिति आ गई है कि बहुत ही हालत ख़राब हो गई है, लेकिन अब जिस तरह से रंग दे मुहिम आई है, एक कैश ट्रांसफ़र मिल सकता है किसानों को, उस लिहाज से आप इसका कितना फ़ायदा होता हुआ वहाँ के किसानों को देख रहे हैं? क्या कुछ राहत मिलेगी इससे?
मुझे किसानों से ज्यादा इन प्रोड्यूसर ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस में जुड़े हुए लोगों से खास इंटरेस्ट है। अगर थोड़ी सी देर के लिए भी उनको कैश लोन मिल जाए और वो इस स्थिति को पार कर पाए और अगले साल में उसी एनर्जी के साथ फिर से अपने काम से जुड़े, तो मैं सोचूंगा कि जिन इन्वेस्टर्स ने रंगदे की तरफ से पैसे दिए हैं लोन के तौर से, तो ये एक बहुत ही बड़ा आशीर्वाद होगा ऐसे लोगों के लिए।
All right, sir. Mr. Satyanand, thank you so much for being with us this evening. Let's go straight across now to Pranoy, who's got a fantastic guest with him, somebody who's done all of us proud this year.
Right. I mean, a Nobel Prize winner, but Nidhi and Vishnu, I've got some amazing news in the last 5 minutes. Vikram Lal, the former chairman of that wonderful company Aisha,
yes,
has decided to invest 1 crore in this campaign. And on top of that, Anita Lal, who is the founder of that tremendously environmentally conscious Good Earth, she has decided to invest 1 crore. So that's 2 crores for
that
this
makes
amazing...
it that so we're above 5 crores now, right? Because we were announcing
right?
3 earlier. I mean, I think we could be touching that.
Wow, that just really is makes me
I'm
feel
told
so
yes.
emotional.
I'm told yes, Pranoy, 5 crores.
Cross 5.
We are at 5 crores.
That is fantastic. And of course, the investments can keep going on over the next few weeks on the website. But to get over 5 crores within 2 hours is just phenomenal, phenomenal. But let's bring in now Abhijit Banerjee, a Nobel Prize winner, and of course done India so proud. Thank you very much, Abhijit, for joining us. It means a lot to us, you know, because at the time of the stress and suffering because of this lockdown, how farmers and small farmers in particular are not getting a price for their product after working on it for the last 4 months. This is the moment when they earn and they're not getting what they normally get. They're getting 1/10 what they normally get. Now, government should help, but it's leaving a huge gap for organizations like Rangde. How should the government have helped more? Should it identify the poorest and help only them? But the process of identifying the poorest gets bogged down in bureaucracy. At a time like this, the government should help only the poorest, or should it go further?
I would have gone long further and gone to every household that's on any list on the NREGA rolls from last year, on the Indira Awas Yojana list, the Ujjwala list. All these have some kind of a list of people. I would have taken triangulated the list, taken every household we can find, and given them the same money, not just farming households. I think it's odd to pick out the farming households when, as you say, a lot of people reliant on agriculture are not classified as farmers.
So are you saying that instead of targeting a section of society, for example, the very poorest, it's time to give up the time-consuming process of targeting, which means a lot of work, it's difficult, and essentially ensure that there is some sort of basic income for everyone? In other words, during a crisis, don't be selective?
I think that's exactly right. I think for two reasons. One is I think that even people who look okay on paper have been hit now. So there is a lot of the middle class, so-called middle class, rural India is now fallen into poverty. So I think that's one thing, or I will fall into poverty when they're using their savings to survive. So there is a lot of that, and there is, I think, targeting is extremely costly. You try to target, you miss the right people often because they are the poorest of the poor. So I think we need to be proactive, and if there's some mistakes made, mistakes can be made. This is not, after all, food goes to people, they eat it.
Sir, looking ahead, what is needed for the economy for some kind of normalcy to return? What do you see are the key constraints right now?
I think that the economy revives. It's not that lack of jobs that's a problem. You can see already that a number of chief ministers have identified the opposite as the problem, that they're not going to come back. They've been so burnt, it's been so miserable that they're not going to come back, and that the industries will suffer because of that. I think the problem, if the right set of steps are taken, demand is boosted, and maybe the government is moving in that direction, and we do see a revival of the economy, then the constraint is going to be labor.
Right. Vijit, you've been watching heart-rending scenes of migrants with little children. Many of them are agricultural laborers, the poorest of the poor. They've just no livelihood where they are. They're walking hundreds of miles to get to their villages. Has a certain level of trust been broken? And as you say, will they think hard before returning to cities? Or what have you heard? Are migrants actually prepared to go back? And is this, do they just need support at this time, like a short-term loan, interest-free loan, to tie them over this period?
They've been burnt very badly. I suspect that a lot of them will hesitate to come back. This history would be written, and I think they are probably even right to worry that, maybe in the fall the infection rates will have an uptick, and then they'll have to have another lockdown. And this time, inshallah, we'll have a better system of dealing with it. I think this should be a massive learning experience. That we have massive amounts of migrants. They need social support, especially in a lockdown, because it's not their fault that there's been a lockdown, and we can't expect them to starve to death and continue to do the job. So I really think that this is going to be a kind of a turning point. I hope it's a positive turning point for the economy.
बिल्कुल, बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया। जिस तरह से आपने कहा है कि उम्मीद करते हैं पॉजिटिव टर्निंग पॉइंट हो। बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया मिस्टर बैनर्जी। और अब आगे बढ़ने से पहले एक अच्छी जानकारी आपको दे दें कि चेन्नई से 20 लाख रुपए और आ गए हैं। तो रंग दे मुहिम के लिए 20 लाख रुपए। और अब हमारे साथ एक और खास मेहमान मिस्टर अरुण जैन, फाउंडर ऑफ पोलारिस ग्रुप एंड चेयरमैन एंड मैनेजिंग डायरेक्टर ऑफ इंटेलेक्ट डिज़ाइन अरीना लिमिटेड हमारे साथ हैं। सर, आई वुड लाइक टू आस्क यू कि यू आर अ बिलीवर ऑफ डिज़ाइन थिंकिंग, और अब ये समय आ गया है कि किस तरह से हमें जीवन को एक बार फिर से रीबिल्ड करना है, किस तरह के इनोवेशंस करने होंगे?
मैं ये कहना चाहूँगा कि हमारे पास जो रूरल इकोनॉमी है उसमें 900 मिलियन पीपल हैं। ये डबल ऑफ द अमेरिका और ट्रिपल ऑफ अमेरिकन इकोनॉमी है। इसका जो सिस्टम डिज़ाइन करना है हमें अप्रूवल के लिए, इट कैन बी $1 ट्रिलियन इकोनॉमी। आई थिंक वी आर only surviving on 450 million which is living in the urban society. If urban and rural disconnect is there, so if we can apply design thinking in terms of enabling better farmer outcome by providing them a rights, personal development, their own self-pride, because the farmer is an entrepreneur by nature, so he takes more decision than entrepreneur takes. He is like a startup of city, and we give him a pity look. We need to work with him more as a friend, as a startup intellectual, because he has a knowledge of what he works on, and on that knowledge he delivers a throughput year on year to the nation. And we treat them as a farmer, गरीब, एक गांव। ये जो नैरेटिव है, इस नैरेटिव को बदलना होगा। वो कम्युनिटी है, वो कम्युनिटी एक कम्युनिटी गांव की और एक बिल्डिंग के जो शहर में है उसमें 500 फैमिली एक बिल्डिंग में रहती हैं, एक 500 फैमिली एक गांव में रहती हैं। उसका जब नैरेटिव चेंज करेंगे, हम डिजाइन थिंकिंग करेंगे जहाँ पे हमें सब मॉडल्स को इकट्ठा लेके हमें उसमें फार्मिंग मॉडल्स, उसमें फाइनेंस मॉडल्स, टेक्नोलॉजी मॉडल्स सबको इकट्ठा करके we need to celebrate what is happening better in the society.
Right.
We need to connect them together, and we need to catalyze them the way you are doing as NDTV.
I wanted to ask you.
You're a catalyst.
Yeah, very important actually points that you raised. You're also founder of Mission Samriddhi. Now, there's a lot of synergy. Could you explain how Rangde's social investing model can support the kind of work, your excellent work that you're doing in Mission Samriddhi?
Yeah, Mission Samriddhi is working with 200 such people in all the sectors to make it holistic, because any change needs to be holistic in nature. So Rangde is working with us, with Mission Samriddhi, with a lot of organic farming to market, and making the price realization, like there's Abhinav Farms, which gives the 4 lakh rupees per acre income to the farmer compared to 40,000 rupees per acre in any part of the country. Now, these are the practices of precision farming which we are learning from Nagpur Naturals or Gratitude Farms. We are giving to these farmers, and that is helping in making this money which is Rangde is giving to be more productive to the farmers.
I just want to know from you, someone who is so much into technology, design, and social innovation now, how can we use all this to enable and empower citizens' participation? You know, we don't look to somebody else. All of us as citizens participate in this process. How does technology help?
I think this is a big issue over here. I would say, I was calculating simple thing is software industry got developed during 1999 after Y2K issue happened. Is there any correlation with COVID-19 right now? We all went to US and learned the technology from there and start building the company. And today, the $150 billion industry. Today, all the migrant worker which is coming back, if you don't pity on them, they are carrying the urban knowledge to the villages. And if that knowledge can be used for making the farmer direct to home by putting a direct to home technologies like Uber technology is there, if vegetable which he sells, you are mentioning in the beginning, he's getting 100 rupees a quintal. He can get 2,000 rupees a quintal if it goes directly to the home. And we have 3-4 models already working where the realization to the farmer is 2,000 rupees a quintal, and the market is he's selling at 4,000 rupees a quintal. So there's a very, very interesting thing where participation can be done. If 1 lakh software professional out of 40 lakh can contribute 10,000 rupees to Rangde, it will be 100 crore fund Rangde can create.
All right. Well, Mr. Jain, thank you so much for being with us this evening. And Pranoy, take a guess. We've raised some more. What do you think the overall number is up to now?
I'm just still bowled over by Vikram Lal's 1 crore and Anita Lal's 1 crore, and then
Mr. Tyson in the US, a little more than 1 crore.
Yeah,
so that's
exactly.
3. So I'm told, Nidhi, that it's 5.5 crores.
5.5 in 2 hours, and there's still weeks to go where people can keep. It is a wonderful idea, and God bless the founders of Rangde, and to take up such an important issue at such a difficult time.
और आगे बढ़ने से पहले
very heartwarming.
Absolutely sir. आगे बढ़ने से पहले दर्शकों को एक बार फिर से बता देते हैं हम। आप देख सकते हैं 5.5 करोड़ हमने इकट्ठा किया है। अभी भी आप 100 रुपए तक का योगदान दे सकते हैं। हजारों और करोड़ों को मत देखिए, 100 रुपए तक का योगदान बहुत अहम होगा। आप ndtv.com/rangde पर जाकर योगदान दे सकते हैं।
Yes, Nidhi, that's another heartening thing, that a lot of small investors, small amounts have come in. That is even as heartwarming, because it means a lot to each person who's putting that money in. So obviously this is a cause that is really important to people in this country.
It is indeed. It's touched the hearts of so many, and you don't have to be rich to be a part of this. Just a little bit can make a difference in the lives of so many. We'd like to thank all of you very much for being part of this mission, of this drive. See the difference that it's going to make. Thanks for being with us. Goodbye.
Thank you. Thank you.